Hello everyone, it is Chad here from Lutoons, and welcome back to another high-octane edition of every animated movie of the year. And today we saw Smurfs: The Lost Village. Well, not actually today, and I promise I am working on getting these episodes out closer and closer to the release dates. But for now, Smurf it, we'll do it live. Okay, so before we get into things, I'd like to preface all of this by saying I'm not a Smurfs guy. I was never very interested in the 80s cartoon. Despite my love for a lot of 80s stuff, I never really saw the appeal of the Smurfs. But despite my lack of interest, the Smurfs have remained an 80s pop culture staple, and there's gotta be a huge fandom for it because the movies seem to keep on coming. In addition to the 80s tune, I've also never seen the live-action tie-in films either, so I suppose in some ways it's a good thing, since I'll be more of a neutral observer to this whole Smurf thing. Then again, perhaps there's lots of callbacks and general reverence for the series that I won't really get, so we'll see. Let's start with the plot of the movie. Smurfs: The Hidden Village tackles a point of interest for the Smurfs that has been slightly of interest, I would guess, since day one. Why is Smurfette the only girl Smurf, and how is it for her to deal with that? In this film, she struggles with it, but when she comes across a group of strange creatures, she, along with her friends Hefty, Brainy, and Clumsy, set out to find out just who these strange Smurf-sized, mask-wearing creatures actually are. Now, I'm sure, like many of you, I had a guess about how this story was going to play out after seeing the first trailer. I said, I bet you those Hidden Village folks are gonna end up being girl Smurfs. But before the film released, the studio put out another trailer which fully revealed the Hidden Villageites, in fact, to be girl Smurfs. So, well, what's left to discover in the movie then? Well, frankly, unfortunately, not much. The remaining struggle in the movie comes mostly from Smurfette finding and feeling a sense of belonging. That and the massively non-threatening villain Gargamel, who really is there more for comedic effect and doesn't add too much to the film other than, hey, we should probably have Gargamel since he's from, the 80s show. The performances are pretty ho-hum, and they likely spent far more cash on big names than they needed to. But, of course, that's just the way things are these days. Demi Lovato, Joe Manganiello, and Mandy Patinkin deliver fine performances, but could have easily been swapped out for your run-of-the-mill voiceover actors. Jack McBrayer, of course, I cannot unhear as Fix-It Felix Jr., and as for Gargamel, well, I am familiar with the original voice, and I love that classic cartoon sound. Also, I know that Hank Azaria played Gargamel in the live-action films, which seems like a dead-on casting choice to me. Here, Rainn Wilson, much as I love him in The Office, felt like a totally wrong choice. Very similar to my qualms with Galifianakis' Joker, I think there's a little too much tongue-in-cheek going on, but that's just my take on it. If you've seen the movie, then you'll get a lot of DreamWorks troll vibes, and that movie was a lot stronger, I would say. The characters grow and learn. The guy who was drab and depressed through the events of the film learns a new way of life. With Smurfs, they're kind of tethered to that gimmick of, my name is Clumsy, therefore I'm always a clumsy Smurf. So it's really smart of the movie to address the one Smurf that doesn't have a character trait tied to her name. She's just Smurfette, so what's her trait? What's her deal? It's a really, really smart subject matter for the film to tackle, but the execution is more forgettable than the great idea deserves, I think. My local newspaper recommended general audiences to skip this movie and that it's more of a strictly for kids film. I don't want to speak for the Smurf fandom, but I'm sure you all agree that there's probably a Smurfs movie out there in the universe waiting to be made that can work for kids and adults. Or maybe I've just missed the Smurfin' boat, and Smurfs just works better for kids, which is fine too. I haven't checked the box office yet, but I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if this thing just did gangbusters based on the younger appeal. So here's a snapshot. The movie was cute enough, and the opening bits in the main Smurf village were the best parts. There's lots of funny gags that you can do with the one-trait Smurf personalities, which I glean is basically the entire appeal of the original series. But prying some of those characters out of that world and having them go on a bigger adventure didn't quite land for me this time around. There's an original song towards the end of the film by Demi Lovato, and it got me thinking, I think this could have actually worked kind of well as a musical, actually. That's just sort of a random thought, but one direction that I think could have lifted things up a little bit. I mean, if you got Demi Lovato already, hey, that could have been cool. but by and large, forced humor, strange pacing, and a serious lack of stakes made this movie a bit of a slog to get through. Oh, and of course, the obligatory Eiffel 65 I'm Blue song montage. Pretty clever, whoever thought to use that song. Okay, so let's throw to the list where Smurfs: The Lost Village comes in at our very lowest spot, for now. And I feel bad, even though the animation and texturing and polish far exceeded something like Rock Dog, it just felt so uninspired and uninteresting that I'd have a hard time recommending this one to anyone. And that's the Smurf in truth. Oh, and speaking of that gag where the Smurfs use the word Smurf to replace other words, that's like the one joke from the show that I and everybody know, and I don't think they almost ever did it, maybe a few times. I mean, I'm not saying I wanted it in there like it's that funny, but just found it interesting that they didn't really use it. So that'll do it. I'm curious, did you guys see Smurfs: The Lost Village? Are you a fan of the 80s show? Did this do it justice in any way? I think that's my biggest wonder, is what would a true blue Smurfs fan think of this movie? Well, I hope you guys let me know down in the comments, and I will see you next time, right here on Every Animated Movie of the Year. Oh, and one more thing. If you enjoyed this video, or if you just enjoy my channel in general, you can always feel free to hit that like button. It's the best way to help my channel out, because it helps to spread the video out into the internet and get more people to see it, which is always great. So thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.